Guys, today let's talk about different kinds of skull fractures. Okay, briefly. The first one that you see here is a ring fracture, guys. Okay, so here this is a base of the skull. You all know that, right? Okay, and what is this here? This one, the famous what? Foramen magnum. Yeah. So if there is a fracture which occurs around the foramen magnum, something like this, then it is called as ring fracture. Okay, now why does it occur, guys? They go, remember, due to heartbreak. Okay, it's just a code. I'm just kidding. When people fall from a height, usually this kind of fracture occurs. Why is it so? See, when the person falls from a height onto the ground, there is some force that is transmitted to the patient's legs, arms, right? From here, a force, an energy, a force is transmitted, and there is a chance that this force can be transmitted up above and can reach the base of the skull via the cervical spine, and this eventually can crack the occipital bone. Okay, so that is a fracture, and this can cause a fracture around the foramen magnum, guys. Okay, so this is your ring fracture, mainly what to remember, due to fall from height. Okay guys, next one we have the sutural fractures. Okay, now what do you mean by sutural fractures, guys? Just like the name suggests, a fracture involving the sutures. See, there are a lot of sutures in our skull, right? Coronal, sagittal, lambdoid, metopic. So because when someone gets hit with a blunt object, this can result in the separation of sutures. Okay, so you can see this picture clearly. The suture is separated, this suture is separated, so this is called as a sutural fracture. Okay guys, and it has got another name called as diastatic fracture. Okay, so why does it occur, guys? I told you, when the person gets hit with a blunt object, a blunt weapon, or in case of cerebral edema, what happens, there is a pressure from inside that can break open the sutures. Okay, fine. Before that, let me tell you what is a blunt weapon. I always had this confusion before, like when I was studying my MBBS. Blunt weapon means, guys, something that has got a flat end or a round end, like a hammer. See, if you see a hammer, okay, one part is usually a little sharp and the other one is blunt. Okay, so this area is called as blunt area, something that is round. Okay guys, can you tell me what kind of fracture is this? What is the name of this fracture? This is called as pond fracture, or is it called as the indented fracture? Okay, indented fracture. Now what do you mean by indented, guys? Indented means something that is like a hole, like something that is shallow. See, you can see it clearly. Okay, so because of a force or a fall from somewhere, from a height, this kind of fracture occurs, and this is seen in chota bachas, it is seen in children. Okay, this occurs mainly because their bones are very elastic. Okay, so these bones do not undergo fracture. Actually, what they undergo is indentation. Indentation means shallow uh, there is a shallow space that has occurred here because of the impact. It could be a hit or a fall. Okay, so this is your pond fracture or the indented fracture, and it happens in, yes, children. Okay, next, guys, what is this fracture? Yes, this is a signature fracture. Signature fracture is also called as depressed fracture. Now why is it called as a signature fracture, guys? See, it is because why this occurs is because the person gets hit by a heavy weapon. Okay, and the shape of this fracture indicates which type of weapon was used. Okay, that is why the name signature fracture, it leaves behind a signature of the weapon that was used. Okay, another name is depressed fracture because you can see the depression that has occurred because of this, right? Okay, very simple, right? Next one, what is this, guys? See, it looks very traumatic. Yeah, here this is called as comminuted fracture or the spider web fracture. Okay, it looks like a spider web, right? Once we suture it. Okay, or it's also called as a comminuted fracture. See, why is it called so? Because it gives a stellate appearance. a lot of bone fragments can be seen because of this fracture. All right. Okay guys, now can you do one question? Okay, so this is in brief about the different skull fractures. It's usually a forensic question. Okay, let me read out a question guys, and let's see which kind of fracture am I talking about. Okay, uh, police was chasing a murderer, and that poor fellow, he tried to escape. He fell from a height, okay, and he lands on his feet and dies immediately on the spot. What kind of fracture is most likely to be seen in this injury, or what fractures cause this kind of injury, guys? So here are the catch points, guys. I told you, whenever when the patient falls from a height, right, because the pressure of his legs, and the pressure will be transmitted from below to his legs, arms, and sometimes this pressure can go up to the skull, base of the skull, causing ring fracture. Okay, yeah, that's it. Bye bye.